The James Show Podcast.
Now, in today's episode, what the heck did Jasmine Crockett say this time? It's going to be an extended episode, but there's actually going to be a good lesson at the end of this. It's going to be like at the end of G.I. Joe, where now you know, and knowing is half the battle. But let's go ahead and start with the funny part before we get to the learning part.
Jasmine Crockett, queen of the liberal tea.
Bleach blonde, bad built butch body, Governor Hot Wheels, and he is a hot ass mess, honey.
Queen of the liberal tea.
All right, Jasmine Crockett stuck up for John Cornyn. Seriously, I just wanted that to settle in. What? Hang on. The Republican senator from Texas had some nice words said about him by the Democrat representative here in downtown Dallas, where I'm sitting right now. I am in Jasmine Crockett's district. She said nice things about Cornyn. Is she trying to get him to lose his next election? I mean, if you've ever seen some red flags about John Cornyn, how he supports weird gun control, how he always votes to raise the debt ceiling, and other complaints that you have about this guy, now you can add to that, Jasmine Crockett said nice things about him. What the heck?
Senator John Cornyn has asked the FBI to get involved and find, arrest, or bring back the Texas legislators.
Yeah, this is interesting. Clearly, my senator. Now, listen, I'm about to tell all of MSNBC a secret. I actually don't hate Senator Cornyn at all. And right now, what we have is a senator who actually is a real Republican who's doing everything that he can to make it seem like he's a MAGA Republican so that he can get through his primary. But Senator Cornyn, this is not him. This is somebody that sat on our Supreme Court in the state of Texas. This is somebody who typically works in a very bipartisan way, unlike Senator Cruz. This is somebody who is literally doing everything that he can to hopefully get some of that MAGA base that is riled up to vote for our corrupt attorney general, because now I'm convinced the only way that you can succeed with MAGA is you got to cheat on your wife, you got to have some felonies hanging over your head, you got to do something that makes you a little saucy before they will get behind you, and that's exactly who A.G. Paxton is, and unfortunately, he is consistently leading in the primary polls on the Republican side. And so Senator Cornyn knows that the FBI can't get involved and ain't gonna get involved as it relates to some little civil situation that was signed off on by the Speaker of the Texas House. But the MAGA base won't know that.
Wow. I like that, John Cornyn. She thinks she's helping him. She thinks she's helping John Cornyn. And that should tell you a lot. Jasmine Crockett looks at the two people who are running for senator, Ken Paxton and John Cornyn, and she went to John Cornyn. She didn't say, pox on both of them, or they're Republicans, so I hope they both lose. No, she was actually not even saying he's the lesser of the two evils. She was saying, I'm not going to say anything bad about him. Wow. Ken Paxton. Or I don't know if he's listening, but people who work for him, work with him, there's your next ad right there. There's your next campaign ad. You can go viral with that. You know why you should vote for me? Because Jasmine Crockett says, vote for my opponent. And that's not going to win you over with Democrats, but in the primaries, for the people who go to the primaries, that's going to be a winning message. Now, over the weekend, the New York Post put out an article that seemed a little harsh on Jasmine Crockett. And I think it is a little harsh. And I'm going to half defend her on this, but it's only halfway. The headline, though, is brutal. New York Post, in a story by Stephen Nelson, wrote, Trump critic Rep. Jasmine Crockett is a no-show boss from hell who terrorizes Stafford's aides say all diva, no wow. So you had the profile from The Atlantic a couple weeks ago, and that was fun because it wasn't meant to be a hit piece. It's from a platform that's definitely sympathetic to Team Blue over Team Red. And she tried to shut it down because they asked her a bunch of questions about some of her dealings with fellow congressmen. And then they contacted the fellow congressmen to get their sides of the story. And she called back. She's like, you didn't tell me you were going to talk to them. I withdraw my permission and want to shut this whole story down. Well, that's not how it works. It came out and it wasn't that great. This actually looks like a straight up hit piece, though. This makes no bones about, trying to find a balance here. Well, that's what some maybe formal disgruntled people say. But let me read a couple excerpts out of this. And we'll get to the lessons learned by this on the other side of the break. Rep. Jasmine Crockett, here at the beginning, says Rep. Jasmine Crockett has positioned herself as an unfiltered critic of President Trump, earning regular TV appearances and an enthusiastic online following. But congressional aides tell the Post that the Dallas Democrat is just as rude and mean to her own staff. Now, they claim that they have 3 sources here that have worked for Jasmine Crockett. They say she's rarely present. She doesn't come to the office very often. She seems to be more concerned with media attention. And I got news for you. That's the smart thing to do if you're a congressman. You know, they gripe in this article about when she does show up for work. She's more concerned about, does she have a nice ride? And she has a staffer come and pick her up and drop her off instead of driving herself. And he can't pick her up and drop her off in his own car. They got to rent a car every week in D.C., and it's got to be like an Escalade or something. So you can tell she kind of enjoys the power. She kind of enjoys the luxury. She kind of enjoys, the accommodations and the preening over her and being the center of attention. And I got to tell you, that's the most normal thing in the world. That didn't make her look bad in my eyes. I still don't agree with her policy decisions. But do you know how many people like this are in Congress? There's varying degrees of it, but it's most of them. Look, this is one of the problems you have with democratically elected representatives is you have a popularity contest. And so now not only is the system not very different than picking a prom king and a prom queen, it also attracts the exact wrong type of candidate. You are attracting the people who really want this job, or the people who love that. People who love being driven around, people who love being on MSNBC and telling people what to do, the people who do have other folks making fuss over them. They have a staff. They ride in the back seat while someone else drives them in the front seat. They don't even know the driver's name. That's how powerful they are. And they get to go to all the fancy parties with all the fancy people, and they get to be on the fancy TV shows and go to the fancy. It attracts the wrong people. This is who these jobs attract. And so once you realize that, look, while it seems just totally weird to us for someone to be that whipped up by power, that intoxicated by their own power. They insist on such luxuries and being treated and waited on and having a staff that attends to them. That's weird for you. That's normal in D.C. That's normal in Austin. So if you read this and you're like, oh, Jasmine Crockett, what a weirdo. We got to get her out of there. That is not the message. This is pretty normal behavior for a congressman. This is normal. And look, who do you think wants to go to Congress? Because I come on here and I talk about these affairs of statecraft on a regular basis. And people, every once in a while, I think they're just being nice. I don't think anyone really thinks I'd be a good congressman. They're like, you should run for office. You should run for Congress. I don't want to do that. Number one, I am not into telling people what to do. I have 4 kids, and 2 of them really love telling people what to do. 2 of them don't. So there's like just a personality trait that I don't have. I don't enjoy telling people what to do. Like if I'm on a jury, I don't want to be the foreman. If I'm on a sporting team, I don't want to be the coach. I don't like telling people what to do. I am not drawn to power. I don't want someone driving me around. I think that'd be weird as hell. But guess who is drawn to these positions? People who love power. People who love power are going to love also, exerting that power. Dare I say, abusing that power. But don't come away from this and your lesson is, oh, Jasmine Crockett is a terrible person. No. That's not the lesson here. Number one, I don't think it's true. I don't think she is a terrible person. I do think that some people have this weird intoxication when they get next to power. They think it's cool to be driven around. Okay, I understand those people exist, and that doesn't make them a bad person. But look, let me steer this lesson here into what I think we should learn from this. We already know that the incentive for congressmen isn't to go into work every day and write the best laws, or to know everything about every bill, or even to know what's even in the bills, or even to read the bills before they vote on them. If they read all the bills, are they more or less likely to get reelected? Makes no difference, does it? So their incentive structure, and we're not going to change this, their incentive structure is to get media attention, to either raise their profile or at least maintain their seat. But if they want to get to that next level, they got to get more media. They also have to raise money for their next campaign. That's it. That's their only incentive, and there's no laws that we can pass that are going to change that. This is a shortcoming that is just inherent in the democratic system, which is why we don't have a flat-out pure democracy. We have a republic where when the founding fathers set it up, this was the only sect, this was the only tiny piece of all of D.C. that was elected this way, the House of Representatives. The senators didn't used to be directly elected by the voters, making it a popularity contest, or they have to go fundraise and they have to get media attention and say wild things. They used to be voted on by the state legislatures. Now, if that's the case, then in order for you to be the next senator, it doesn't matter what your media profile is. It doesn't matter how much money you've raised in your campaign. There is no campaign. You just have to make sure you're doing a good job so the state senators or state representatives in your home state will send you back there. You have to keep them happy. And so that changes the dynamic big time. But what we've done is we've taken the shortcomings that are in the House of Representatives and we've added them to the Senate. So we lost an advantage in the Senate. And then we've basically turned in the presidential election into the same thing. I know we have the Electoral College. So what you have is, instead of one big popularity contest, you have an amalgamation of 50 popularity contests, which gives you the same problems. Now, your path to power is raising money and positive media attention, not how good you govern. I don't know where we lost this. I don't know how we've all gone to school and read about what the original Electoral College is and not thought, hey, maybe we should return to that. Because the original intent of the Electoral College is not that every state gets to get, the number of votes that's in their congressional representative pool, and that'll count as their vote to the larger election. The point of the Electoral College is to vote not for the candidate that's going to be president, but vote for the committee that's going to get together and choose the candidate. And that is the only way, if you're not directly electing people, if you're electing them through electors, that you're not going to get someone in office who is there because he chased it, because he wanted it, because he barnstormed and he raised money and he got media. No, we need to get a bunch of eggheads and vote for people that we think is smart. I imagine for some people they like to go in and in Texas you would vote for like a Joe Rogan or an Elon Musk or some of these other men of state that have accomplished something here in Texas. Like a Michael Dell or Ross Perot Jr. or like a Lieutenant Colonel Allen West. You would pick these people. You'd pick a Brian Harrison. And then they would get into a room and they would decide who would be the best president. And they would vote on it. And you would end up picking someone that didn't raise a dime for his campaign because there was no campaign. Which means what? He can't have been bought off. He is not subservient to the corporate interest. He is not subservient to the lobbyist. He is not subservient to the defense contractors, the evil military industrial complex that even Eisenhower warned us about. He won't owe them anything. He might not even want to be president. And that's exactly the type of person that should be president. We should have a bunch of eggheads who we agree with, who are going to go get in a room and they're either going to choose someone out of the egghead pool that's in the room or maybe some egghead that's not even an elector. And we'll get some probably thought-filled guy, someone who's a little deeper. And say what you want about Donald Trump or Joe Biden, or you can even go backwards, Barack Obama or George W. Bush. I mean, these are not like the deepest thinkers in a nation of 330 million people that we have to offer. They all spoke on an 8th grade reading level, nothing above that. And it all seems to be just the same old, same old. Government keeps growing at about the same rate. Your taxes stay about the same. Your freedom gets curtailed little by little every year. And we're doing the same thing, expecting a different result. No, that's the lesson of this New York Post expose. Isn't that Jasmine Crockett? We need to kick her out of office. She's doing a terrible job. No, that's normal for D.C. Because the other lesson in here is, why are we giving people who this is their incentive structure and this is how they live their life, why are we giving them so much power? Founding fathers didn't. They had a constitution where in Article 1, Section 8 gave them 23 things that they can vote on. And somewhere, subsequent generations decided that we're going to directly elect most of the people in D.C., and then we're going to let them pass laws on just about any damn thing, education or health care or retirement pensions or all these other expansions of their power for people who certainly don't deserve it. So that's my lesson. We got to get away from this straight up democracy thing and just recognize that shortcoming's always going to be there, but it should only be restricted to people in the House of Representatives. It shouldn't be happening to people in the Senate, and it shouldn't be happening to people who run for president. That's my lesson. Hey, coming up on the James Show, we're going to talk about the Yellowstone sequel that's going to be here in North Texas. Find out where in the next segment. But in this one, I saw CNN over the weekend. I saw this floating around on social media, and I clicked this video, and I just kept watching it. And it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. CNN was doing some special programming on Christian nationalism. And they were just doing their best to make you look like a freak. Well, I'm assuming you're a Christian. I'm a Christian. They were doing their best to make us look like a bunch of freaks. And it almost seems like after I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did watch about 9 minutes of it. I watched like 2 whole segments between the commercials. And I was thinking, what was the pre-show meeting here when they were putting together this special program? Hey, we're doing a special on Christian nationalism. Oh, okay. Christian nationalism. So like the politics of evangelicals. Yeah. So there's your first. I always find that to be a red flag. When someone is referring to a group of Christians as evangelicals, I know they're from the outside. I don't call myself an evangelical. I think they would call me evangelical. Hey, what kind of Christian are you? Baptist? So what do they mean by evangelical? They don't ever say like our actual denominations. They don't say Methodist or Presbyterian or even Protestant. It's evangelical or Catholic. That's all they got. So that's the first warning sign. But it sounds like in this, like the editing meeting where they were putting this whole thing together, they're like, go find the people who would call themselves Christian nationalists that have the most distasteful beliefs in the court of public opinion, and let's interview them. And then let's only interview them about the things that could be found reprehensible by the general public. Don't talk about the charitable works that Christians do. Don't talk about Samaritan's Purse that helps with everything from the Ebola virus to the Texas flooding that just happened in Kerrville. Don't talk about that. Just as bad as you can get it. Let's make them look as freaky and terrible as possible. It's like, okay, I got it. Look, let's just run through a minute or so of this so you know what I'm talking about.
Women are the kind of people that people come out of.
So you just think they're meant to have babies. That's it. They're just a vessel.
No, it doesn't take any talent to simply reproduce biologically. The wife and mother, who is the chief executive of the home, is entrusted with 3 or 4 or 5 eternal souls.
I'm here as a working journalist, and I'm a mom of 3.
Good for you.
Is that an issue
No.
for you?
No, it's not automatically an issue.
Josh and Amy Friends, along with their 4 kids, moved here from Washington State.
You hear how loaded the questions are? Oh, so you're saying women are just here to have babies? No. You're saying women are just a vessel? No. Oh, so what about me? I'm a working mom. Does that make me a bad person? Dude, calm down. They're falling all over themselves to put some sort of negative spin on this, to intentionally misinterpret it so the general public can find it distasteful. So people on the fence, this is just political propaganda. And it's amazing because, like, when we have the Sharia city that's being proposed, we have a bunch of them here in Texas. Anyone ever pull aside a bunch of Muslim nationalists and ask them about their sensitive views on a woman's role in the household? No? That's weird. You think that'd be a big deal? You know, because Christian nationalists, they're so evil and scary. Oh, really? Do we do honor killings on our women when they don't behave properly? On our daughters when they don't behave properly? Are we really that bad? For all the shootings that happen in the major metropolitan areas on a daily basis, any of them by Christian nationalists? When someone put together a flamethrower and was burning Jews in Colorado, was that Christian nationalist? When someone shot the 2 Jewish people coming out of the museum in D.C. last month, was that Christian nationalists? No. What about all these other acts of violence? What about the people throwing bricks at ICE officers when they're doing their job? No, not Christian nationalists. What about when they shot ICE officers in Alvarado and McAllen? Were they Christian nationalists? What about when someone gets upset about some death at the hands of police and people are looting a Foot Locker and throwing the bricks through the windows of stores all downtown? Christian nationalists? Is that who's getting the flash mobs together and absolutely ransacking your local Walgreens so much so they got to lock everything up? Is that why they're having to send in the National Guard to D.C.? It's because all of the crime, street crime from Christian nationalists. Christian nationalists aren't perfect. I don't agree with everything they say. I'm far more libertarian, politically speaking, than they are. But of all the things we need to be scared of in modern American society, CNN choosing Christian nationalists is ridiculous. I mean, there's not a group that's committing. Is there a group that's committing less crime out there? Is there a safer group of people to be around? I mean, maybe the Mormons, but it's pretty close. Are they causing our problems, Christian nationalists, or is our problems caused by people who are overwhelmingly from broken homes, born out of wedlock or raised by a single mom or by a step parent? The people that stray away from these Christian values, are they more or likely to end up in prison? Are they more likely to commit a violent crime? Are they more likely to end up being a prostitute or a rapist or on drugs or homeless or any metric of the human condition? And you're going out there and you're doing scare stories on Christian nationalists. This is just like the Christian baker thing. Yeah, I disagree with the guy that wouldn't make the gay wedding cake. I would make a gay wedding cake if I was a baker. But he should have the right to do that. And did y'all go into any Muslim bakeries during this little rash that y'all were finding Christians to persecute and ask them to make a gay wedding cake? Because Steven Crowder did. Do you know the comedian Steven Crowder? He lives in Dallas now. He's originally Canadian, but he does a great little podcast and a show where he dressed up and he went into Muslim bakeries asking them to make a gay wedding cake, and he got turned down. And then he turned over all of these tapes from, I think it was like 6 different Muslim bakers, to all of the outlets that were running stories about the evil Christian anti-gay baker. None of them picked up his story. Your selective outrage is telling. You don't like Christian nationalists. We get it. If you're not excited, you should be excited for our neighbors down in Ferris. Ferris, Texas is going to be the site of the next Yellowstone. I guess is this a sequel? I don't know. So I'm late to the game when it comes to Yellowstone, and that's all right, because I ended up getting lucky in the situation I'm in now, is because Yellowstone came out and it was a thing, a couple seasons, whatever, and then they came out with the prequels, 1883, and then what's the other one, like 1921 or something. Don't at me, I don't need to know, it's not important. So I thought, well, since me and Miss Parker are late to the Yellowstone game, we can actually watch it in chronological order. So I watched 1883, and I've seen the first season of the one with Harrison Ford and what's that other lady, Helen Mirren. So the 1921. And as soon as we finish that, because I think there's another season or 2 that has to come out, then we're going to actually get caught up and watch the original Yellowstone, and then we'll have something to watch after that. So that's super cool. By the way, 1883 was amazing. Billy Bob Thornton was amazing. Sam Elliott, amazing. Whoever played Elsa, amazing. Tim McGraw and Faith Hill. No, I'm kidding. They were good. They were fine. But this is a big deal. Maybe you don't understand. If you're from a small town, one of the things that you don't understand, like if you're from Dallas, is that you're never on TV. If you're from Dallas, you can drive an hour in any direction and people still know where Dallas is. You can drive 2 hours in any direction. People still know where Dallas is. You can drive 10 hours and people have still heard of Dallas. You can drive until you reach the ocean. People have heard of Dallas. One of the reasons I use the loving term bug tussle is for the towns I'm describing. Most people around here probably hadn't heard of it. Where I'm from, if you drive an hour in any direction, it's pretty sketchy. It's about 50-50 if people have heard of your town or know where it's at. If you drive 3 hours in any direction, it's almost guaranteed no. And if you drive 10 hours in any direction, if you leave the state, no one knows. No one knows where I'm from. No one knows. No one's heard of Ferris before. Well, they're gonna. So now, not only do you have your town actually on the TV, which is something that blows your mind, you're going to have this forever. You're going to have landmarks. You're going to have characters. You're going to have a song. I don't know what the theme song is going to be, but it'll be like Dallas. You know, like Dallas has its own. Ferris will have its own theme song. You're going to hear some majestic orchestra crank out a score that was written just for you and your awesome little town. I don't know if we'll have an awesome slap bass like this, but you'll have a song that when you hear, you'll think of your hometown. Almost no small towns get this. You're spoiled if you live in Dallas or Fort Worth. Because when you're watching the Cowboys and they cut to commercial and there's like the helicopter shot of downtown, you're looking at your town. No one's ever made a helicopter shot and played it during a football game of my hometown. Or basically most of the map dots from here to the Atlantic Ocean. We don't get that kind of attention. Ferris is about to get it. So just do a good job, y'all. Whether it's a good show or a bad show, I really hope it catches on. I really hope this is going to be a fun moment for you guys. I'm so happy for you. And it's never going to go away. You can show your kids. You can show your grandkids. They can show their grandkids. Some of you are going to get to be extras in some of the scenes. Some of you are going to have your house in the background or your coffee shop in the background. Some of you are going to know that, oh, yeah, that was my friend that I went to high school with. It's going to be so cool. And it's for what seems to be a pretty successful endeavor here. 1883 was awesome. So far, the 19 whatever I'm watching, you think I'd know I'm watching it. Awesome. Yellowstone, obviously awesome. So I'm excited on your behalf, Ferris. I hope it goes very well for you. All right, this is going to about do it for the James Show. Go find the James Show podcast whenever you need time to kill. If you're on a road trip, if you're in the handicap stall, if you don't like the other shows, go ahead. Find it wherever you're already listening to podcasts. I prefer WBAP.com and the WBAP app. Also, go find our stuff when you're already goofing around on YouTube or you're goofing around on Facebook or Twitter/X or whatever the cool kids are calling it. We have a lot of good content on social media, so find us, like us, share us there. Every little reshare, retweet, restream, it all helps, and I appreciate it all. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.